I'm so thrilled and really honored to be able to kick off our program tonight, the Freedom from Fear Awards. And I want to start by sharing a story that's really my own journey with Netroots Nation. I first came when it was the early coast, and I was such an excited new progressive activist. I had just given up my career as a journalist at the LA Times to go work for Howard Dean. Go Howie! I was really inspired, not only by the message of Howard Dean, but that it fit together with the idea that these new tools could really be a new kind of engine for reinvigorating our democracy. So when I came here, I was so amazed and so impressed that the whole political establishment would come here, and talk to us, and that you would have every presidential candidate taking our questions, and you had every major news outlet wanting to know what we had to say. And it was really incredible and really amazing. But at the same time, I thought that it was a little bit of a missed opportunity, because when I looked around at that time, it was pretty homogenous. And there were women and there were people of color, but there weren't that many of them, and it was still segregated. So there was a feminism panel, and all the women would go to that, and there was a diversity panel, and all the people of color would go to that. And I was concerned about that, because it seemed like what we wanted to do was something new and something different, and that we actually were in danger of reinforcing the same power structure that we're actually trying to fight against. So I spoke out about this as a blogger, and it wasn't easy. It was really hard, and I got a lot of pushback, but we also had a really good conversation. It was a hard conversation, but it was an important conversation that we had. And what that meant for me was that when Raven took over Netroots Nation, he asked me and a bunch of others who were also speaking out to join him and helping to make this different. Yeah, and so, how do you do that? How do you work on a problem that seems so intractable and so entrenched? And the first step is to admit that you have a problem. And that's what Raven and the staff at Netroots Nation really did. And they committed themselves not to diversity, but to true inclusion. And they really are two different things. Too often when we think about diversity, it's like a box we're checking. And so it's like, we're planning this conference and we have our to-do list, and it's like set up the tables, fix the audio, order the lunches, find some Latinos who will come, And that it doesn't work that way. It's deeper than that. You can't just open the door and say, hey, we're here, come in. You actually have to go outside of the door and go to the communities that you're trying to reach and ask them to come, invite them to come. It takes work. So that's what we did, and the staff at Netroots Nation, they did that. There was an outreach program that was just voluntary that became part of the institution. We raised money that was specific to, making connections with leaders in these different communities. The staff would go to conferences that had online activists of color and women and talk to those people and make those connections and ask them to come and ask them to share their work. And so we also wanted to make sure not only were we bringing people here, but that we were really including them in the programming. We made it a criteria on the panel selection to include diverse voices, and we made sure that the issues that these communities were speaking to was reflected in the program. So if we believe, partially it's because if we believe what Van said today about we're better off as a united front than as these different separate issue groups, that how can we do that work if we're not embodying those principles ourselves? So when you look around today, it really is so much different than it was 4 years ago. And it's not that there were fewer people who were here before, it's that there's more people. And that's what we want, it makes our community stronger, it makes our movement stronger. And so I want to share this story for two reasons. One, because it's a success story. And it's really important, I think, for us to acknowledge and celebrate that we've made progress on something that is really hard. And then two, it's context for this program tonight, because when we didn't have the inclusion of diverse voices, issues like immigration were not on the top of the list for this community. And I think through the effort of so many dedicated activists who've tried to bridge those divides, I think we can all say that this is an issue that we are committed to solving, and that we are committed as a community to make sure that everybody who works in this country has a chance to fully participate in our society. So it's in that we are able to stand here and honor individuals who have stood in the face of fear and hate and risked their lives to make the world better. And it's that energy and being in the presence of that energy that makes us better. So really building a truly inclusive movement for progressive change and for social justice, it's an ongoing journey. And tonight is another step on that journey. And so I'm really happy to welcome you all to what is going to be a very inspiring and moving program. Thank you.